All right, welcome everyone. So glad you joined us tonight. I am really well this afternoon. I'm in California here, so it's not quite evening yet, but very glad to have you all here. It's a lovely sunny day out my window. I'm not that far from the beach. One of my favorite places. Hi, my name is Elisa. Thank you all for coming so much tonight. We're so excited, Mel and I, to dive into the topic of homeopathy for OCD. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll have some time at the end to answer them. Before we begin, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a California girl. I love the beach. Homeopathy. When I'm not studying homeopathy, I travel with all my adorable little nieces and nephews. I have several of them. And I just enjoyed it. And Mel, she'll be presenting later today. She's also a homeopath from the sunny state of Florida. We're covering both
Mhm.
coasts of the US tonight. And she just also loves traveling and exploring new places, discovering new foods, and spending time with her husband and daughters. We're
Mm.
both really excited to be here with you. And we are going to just jump right on into homeopathy for OCD. So, Mel, if you could go ahead and click the next slide.
Letting some people in. There we go. Yep.
All right. So just because we are both based in the US, I'm just putting this disclaimer out. Mel and I are both homeopaths. The information provided in this webinar is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice. And just for that's what we are, and we love homeopathy. It's amazing, and I'm so excited to share with you. Next slide, please, Mel. All right, before we jump into talking specifics, I really like defining what we are talking about. That way we're all on the same page. OCD. OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, it's defined as a disorder marked by uncontrollable recurring thoughts, obsessions, and repetitive and excessive behaviors. So we're going to cover both parts. We're going to talk a little bit. We have obsessions and we have compulsions. So obsessions, those are very much in your own, like in mind. They're unwanted, they're intrusive thoughts, urges, and we see them in children. They get in the way. They're afraid of coming into contact. Like there's the fear of contamination. Like, oh, I can't touch that backpack. It's not mine. It's like the end of the world. We also have subcommon obsessions are sexual obsessions or fear of performing aggressive behaviors on others, and they always feel like they have to protect themselves. Fear of losing control over one's behavior, excessive concern with performing tasks perfectly or correctly. And there's also this thing where they want everything in perfect order. Like you walk into child's room and you see all these blocks have to be lined up just right. Or when an adult, like one of them I worked with, they had to have every single DVD they owned had to be color coded and alphabetized on a shelf. That was her obsession. Those are our obsessions. Those are things in our mind. They're very time consuming and they get away of important activities. Whereas the other part of OCD, compulsions. So you can see that picture there. Everything has to be lined up just straight, all the colors in a row. Compulsions are behaviors individuals engage in. It can be excessive cleaning, like they just have to clean and clean and clean till everything is perfect. Or we see with some children, they wash their hands, it's never clean enough, and until their skin is like raw. And or some other compulsions, we have arranging things in a very precise way, and there's major meltdowns, behavior fits if like the parent moves the block or changes things or changes the order of the day. It's the end of the world. Another one of type of compulsions is counting while performing a task until you get to a good or right safe number, or having to do things in multiples, like seeing with some students, like kids having to touch door 3 times to make sure it's closed. There's many different ways that compulsions, it may look it looks different for different people, but those are the two main things. You may be thinking, oh, I haven't thought this actually. I was preparing the presentation. I was like, do I have OCD? Like I'm always forgetting things, or I have to like always touch the door to make sure I close it. And then I realized, let me think about this. So there's obsessions and then there's OCD. So OCD is different from being obsessed because like I can be obsessed with historical fiction or watching the waves crash on the beach, but it doesn't stop me from getting out of bed in the morning or going to work. When someone with OCD who has OCD, like these obsessions keep them from enjoying daily life. For a kid, it could be really hard for them to go to school and to be around other people because they always feel distracted, or they feel like there's a mistake, or they have these intrusive thoughts that are always at them. They have to do whatever it takes, and it causes a lot of anxiety if they can't do their compulsive behavior to solve the stuff going on in their head. Like it keeps them in a state like of anxiety. Like it helps a little bit, but it doesn't relieve. And that's how we really know if someone is struggling with OCD. And so I like thinking of it. So in the context of OCD, if you have OCD when intrusive thoughts come frequently and they trigger in you extreme anxiety, fear, disgust, or and result in like behaviors and actions that get in the way of like you functioning in your daily life. Like a child can't go to school like everyone else, or they can't have their backpack next to someone else's, or an adult's like we can't go certain places or we can't do things because we can't have to do the right number of activities. And this is where OCD, because we want to be able to enjoy our life, to enjoy things. And this is where OCD gets to be a little bit of an issue. And along with OCD, like this is like the main like umbrella. There's some conditions that can go along with it. And I just want to cover them briefly tonight. Because sometimes we notice them, but we don't realize that they often fall under like the scope of OCD. And I didn't realize this until I was like studying the case a bit, but also in OCDs, as part of compulsions, it can not only be like behaviors, it can also be like motor tics and facial tics. Like you'll see jerking or vocal, where they feel like they have to repeat the same word over and over again, or grimacing, or they have to always clear their throat. I don't know if I can even do it, or sniffing or grunting sounds. And it's something they feel like they have to do if they don't. Like, I remember one child that I remember being around, she always had to stretch or she always had to clear her throat before she did anything. And that just was how the OCD was coming out. And often because of OCD, we tag on anxiety disorders or other things. But Mel, if you could go on to the next slide. There is another
Sure.
often shows up with OCD, and it's becoming brought more and more to awareness, especially here in America. And I think it's starting around the world too. More and more parents are starting to have
Sorry.
this more to have
Tiffany.
it's something called pans and pandas. And I was like, what is panda bears, those cute black and white bears, have to do with sicknesses? And they're like, no, 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 it's actually a diagnosis. So pardon me if I butcher this, but PANDA stands for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Disorders Associated with Streptococcus. Well, it's this code, the one that often goes together is PANS, which stands for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. And there's a lot to be said. And to be honest, like parents are always the best ones that define these terms because they have to live with it. Because the biggest thing with these two conditions, is that there's a sudden onset of extreme OCD. Like I've had parents tell me it's like my child lost my child overnight, or my child changed overnight because the OCD was so severe, so sudden. Grades changed, they lost the ability to write, or they lost the ability to do the skill of math well. There's text and voluntary movement, they changed. And it's becoming more and more an issue with children around, and even in adults, we start seeing this, especially with PANS, because on so PANDAS is brought on by strep. PANS is brought on by the flu. I've seen it brought on by COVID, chickenpox, Lyme's. It's just an infection. And what triggers these two symptoms of a severe onset of OCD is that there's an autoimmune response gone wrong. So, in basic, like this was the simplest way I found to explain it. It's basically when these children or adults, the body's immune system starts attacking healthy brain tissue after a strep infection in the case of pandas, or in the case of PANS, it could be like a flu, a cold, Lyme's, it starts attacking healthy brain tissue and it causes these neuro symptoms that mess with the child's mood, their food, how they're picky, they will see rage. You can see all these different things along with severe OCD. And this is becoming more and more common. That's why I wanted to just bring it in because it is something that homeopathy is really beautiful with. And I love seeing it. So let's go on to the next slide. I don't know how many of you are familiar with homeopathy. Can you put in the chat really quick, type yes if you've used homeopathy before, no if you have not used homeopathy. I'm just curious how much you guys know about homeopathy. Fabulous. Great. We have a bunch of pros here. It's awesome. Then I feel like we're talking to you. Homeopathy is so beautiful. Every time I see it and it's working, it's non-toxic. But I find, especially with OCD, homeopathy really shines in the fact that it is whole person centered. So often we go to like a doctor, psychiatrist, they just look at the symptoms. And with OCD, we need to look at the bigger picture. Like, what's the environment? What are the emotions driving it? What else is going on? What are the layers we need to deal with? And that's the beauty of it. You take the time, you study, you look into it and see like, homeopathy causes us to pause in a world where we like labels, where we like quick answers. Homeopathy is beautiful in the way it makes us stop, it makes us think, and it's very individualized. Like what works for me or what works for this won't necessarily work for you or your child. Just so simple, it's a beautiful. And I love that in a world that seems to be more and more forcing us to be cookie cutters of a mold that's being sent out. We have a choice to be different. And I think this is a beautiful way of doing it. So Mel, can you go on to the next slide, please?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So why would you consider homeopathy for OCD? I've actually had someone ask me that because they're like, well, that's a neuro issue. Like, why would homeopathy work with it? Well, for the simple reason that homeopathy is one of the best things I have found for dealing with anxiety, with dealing with inflammation. Like we have so many factors in our world that triggers inflammation in the neurobrain, in our nervous system, our brain. It's just there's so much out there, and homeopathy helps the body to stop and to process. And so it's not producing because we see what we often see as OCD, these behaviors and compulsions, they're just a sign that something's wrong. It's our body is putting out these signals saying, hey, something's wrong. We need help. And homeopathy helps us get to the root cause of it. It balances our immune system, as in the case with pans and pandas. There's this immune system where they get sick and then they get sick again and they keep getting sick. And we need to stop that. The body needs the ability to stop that cycle so it doesn't have to keep over and over and over again experiencing it. And so these are just some of the benefits I listed to see what homeopathy can help with. But let's go on to the next one, please. Oh, so this is such a cutie. I got the pleasure of working with this sweetheart. His name is not his real name. I do have permission to share he's not his real name. We'll call him Bo. He was a sweet 3.5-year-old boy whose mom brought to me. And he's like, I don't know what to do, Elisa. We need to do something. This kid is obsessed. He's the youngest. My mom's had several kids, but this kid, for some reason, was just obsessed about small things. Like if there was a piece of fuzz in his bathwater, there was a total meltdown, the end of the world, out of the bathtub. He was in the car riding in his car seat and there's a little spider outside his window or a string. That's it. He was done. Screamed the whole rest of the car ride, meltdown until they could get rid of the spider or the hair. The main reason they came is because they had all these ritualistic behaviors around passing stool. Like he had to be in a certain place. He had to get hunched down. Only his mom could be with him. If his mom wasn't with him, he didn't want to go to the bathroom. And mom had other kids. She needed to be with other people. She's like, Elisa, what can homeopathy do for my child? So we took his case, step back and looked. And so the remedy he ended up needing was a mushroom. It was called agaricus. And I was first like, well, it's not like a common remedy, but it really matched him because agaricus has there's just two sides of agaricus. There's this reckless, excited state, and then there's this withdrawn, or there's this spasming, and we saw that a lot when he was passing stools really hard. There was like a little bit of spasm, and then just wanting to like withdraw and careful about little details. Um, he so we gave him agaricus, and we worked for 2 months on it. And after 2 months, when we checked in with the mom says, Elisa, I don't know what happened. He can take a bath now, and he doesn't care if fuzz falls in. He can go in there. Like, he doesn't melt down if I don't give him his favorite plate. We're still working on the stool issue. Like, he was able to pass stool without his mom there, but it's an ongoing issue, and it's not as emotionally disturbing anymore. And now we realize it's moving more into a trained behavior that we have to undo. And homeopathy is brilliant, and we'll keep working on that. But it was so cool to see him go for this little shy boy who didn't want to come on screen the first appointment, was obsessed about everything, and then 2 months later just pop on screen and talk away to me. And I just love that. And that's what some of the beautiful things that homeopathy can do. And Mel now is going to go ahead and share with us some other remedies. I talked a little about agaricus, which is a red capped mushroom, and Mel is going to talk about some other remedies we have found helpful in using with the OCD.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mel. Thank you, Elisa. I wanted to introduce you. So tonight I will introduce you some remedies that will help with different aspects of OCD. And you will see a lot of perfectionism in these remedies, a lot of symptoms of perfectionism, fears of failure, emotional suppression, and anxiety. Now, keep in mind that OCD may look different for everyone, as Elisa mentioned earlier. And I selected these remedies in purpose because some of them will sound very familiar, very similar and familiar, but they are not. Some very subtle symptoms will make all the difference in selecting the right remedy. So I would like to start with arsenicum album. And homeopaths look at this remedy for individuals who experience anxiety and perfectionism, particularly in relation to cleanliness, order, and security. These people are obsessed with maintaining a sense of control over their environments. They need everything to be perfectly in place, and any disorder or mess causes distress. So they have a fear of contamination as well, whether from germ, illness, or dirt. This fear leads to compulsive behavior like washing their hands 1,000,000 times a day or cleaning obsessively. And you will also notice that they are very restless and agitated mentally and physically. They are anxious and worried about many, many things. And they may pace, struggle to sit still, and their mind may race with worry, even though they are exhausted. And because of that, they have sleep issues. So there's also a fear of being alone, a fear of death, fear that something might go wrong. And it leads them to be obsessively checking locks, stove, or call loved one to make sure that they are okay. Their needs for security can be very overwhelming, and very often they feel isolated and unsupported by loved one because of this obsession. So they also, one last thing is that when they lose control, they can become very, very rigid in their thinking, and they struggle to adapt to changes. And they may become hopeless and despair about the situation, and they'll often say things like, what's the point anyway? So that's basically arsenicum album. The second remedy I wanted to talk about is Lycopodium clavatum. And Lycopodium is often used for people with OCD who look very confident on the outside, but they actually feel very insecure inside. These individuals worry a lot about making mistakes or being judged, especially when others are watching. They're afraid of failure, and often they go to great lengths to avoid embarrassment. So they use routines and mental rules to feel in control. They may double check, overthink, and redo tasks because they're afraid of not doing things perfectly. And they are prone to mood swings and repeating words over and over. Even though they can seem very bossy and controlling, it usually comes from a place of self-doubt. And these individuals often get stuck with thinking that they don't adapt well, with rigid thinking, sorry, and they don't adapt very well to changes. Criticism hits them very, very hard, and they may be obsessed over a conversation or task long after they happen. So we would consider this remedy when OCD symptoms are paired with digestive issues, performance anxiety, and a need for mental order or perfectionism. The third remedy that I wanted to talk about is natrum muriaticum. And so individuals, it's also known as table salt. Individuals who need this remedy tend to keep their emotion locked inside. They may have gone through emotional pain, like heartbreaks, betrayal, or feeling rejected. And instead of talking about it, they hold it in. And over time, this creates a lot of inner tension. And to cope with their inner pain, they create mental routines and rituals like repeating thoughts, counting, repeating prayers, or reviewing things they've said or done. And that provides them with a sense of control. So while they may appear aloof or distant, they are actually deeply affected by emotional ones. And they have a fear of emotional intimacy, using their compulsive behavior as a way to keep others at a distance and to avoid feeling vulnerable. They tend to avoid talking about their feelings, and they prefer to process emotion alone. The next remedy that I have is, let me change the slide. It didn't work. Sorry. Calcinosin. So calcinosin is a remedy we think about for people who tend to be perfectionists. They're always trying to meet high standards and avoid criticism. They need to be perfect in work, relationship, or in how they behave. And that pressure, it brings so much guilt for them and for not maybe doing enough. So they take on too many responsibilities. They try to help others, organize everything to avoid conflict, and this can lead to feeling emotionally drained. Their compulsive behaviors, like constantly checking and organizing, are driven by a need to be in control of their emotions and surroundings. So they also have a strong need for everything to be perfect, including how things are arranged and how they dress. So for example, they may insist on matching colors when they dress or decorate a room. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's talk about a woman named Emma. She always does everything perfectly. And at work, she doubles and triple checks her report. She stays late to fix tiny details. She is constantly worried about disappointing her boss. And at home, she keeps everything spotless and perfectly arranged. If a pillow is out of place, she feels very anxious until it's corrected. And despite appearing calm and capable, Emma feels constantly overwhelmed inside, and she worries that if she doesn't keep everything perfect, things will just fall apart, or worse, someone will be disappointed in her. So this remedy also has a very, very strong fear of developing cancer, especially if there is a history in the family. Let's see. I'm going to talk about stramonium. Stramonium is a remedy used for people who feel extreme fear, anxiety, or confusion, especially when they are very, very upset or they have gone through a trauma. These individuals often act in a frantic or erratic way. They feel like they're in constant danger or threat. It's a very interesting remedy. One of the major features of stramonium is a fear of dark or the unknown, where the person may feel scared of being attacked or hurt, and this fear might make them compulsively checking door, locking to feel safe. They may have paranoia, and feel like they are being watched, followed, or persecuted. They have religious thoughts that can be a big part of stramonium picture too. People have exaggerated religious ideas, thinking they're being chosen for a special purpose, or fearing that they've done something terribly wrong and will be punished for it. They may get stuck obsessing over sins or their spiritual belief, and they need constant reassurance about their spiritual states. On top of these mental emotional struggles, stramonium individuals might have physical symptoms like nervousness, restlessness, trouble sleeping. They have a lot of nightmares, and they also have a lot of delusion, feelings that either overly important or that everyone is against them. And these people often experience mood swings and irrational fears. The next remedy that I wanted to talk about is Argentum nutritium. And this remedy is used for people who experience intense anxiety and compulsive behavior related to performance. So these individuals fear failure, particularly in public situations like presentation or exam, and their obsessive thoughts focus on the fear of making a mistake or being judged. So they are highly anxious about upcoming events and feel the need to prepare obsessively to avoid errors. So people needed this remedy are also very impulsive and restless. They act quickly, they're driven by an inner sense of urgency, only to later regret their actions, and they're obsessed about doing things that, perfect. They engage in repetitive behaviors, like checking or mentally rehearsing what they will say or do and trying to prevent any potential failure. They also need to control time. It is central to their OCD. They may have specific rituals around managing time or sticking to strict schedule. And the stress intensifies if anything goes off course. So despite their compulsive behavior, they often feel helpless and exhausted in their inability to control outcomes. They may have some physical symptoms as well, like trembling, nausea, headache, heart palpitation. And that reflects the anxiety that they feel all the time. So I'm sure some of you are saying, oh, this remedy is very, very similar to lycopodium. And they would be right. Yes, but the difference is that Argentum is more impulsive and panicky. The anxiety is focused on performance and what might go wrong in the future. So they often act quickly and then they're obsessed afterward about things that happened. Whereas lycopodium is a more calculating and self-conscious, and they have very deep insecurity. And their OCD is driven by the fear of failure. So they over-prepare or micromanage. I'm going to go on my next slide, and these are the 3 last remedies that I have for you tonight, so that I don't bore you. So Nux vomica. Nux vomica is a remedy that is powered by irritation, control, and burnout. So these individuals are highly driven, they're perfectionists, they are very, very, very easily irritated when things don't go according to plans. And they often have a very structured way of doing things. And any disruptions, like a delay, some noise, or someone doing something differently that they are expecting, can trigger intense frustration. Their compulsive behavior usually centers around work, productivity, or routine, and they may obsessively check their work, reread email, repeat tasks to make sure that everything is done just right. And even the smallest mistake can cause a lot of stress. So they constantly push themselves to avoid failure. So mentally, they are often overstimulated and burned out. They think quickly, act quickly, and they don't tolerate interruptions well. And despite being exhausted, their mind rarely slows down. Physically, they may suffer from digestive issues, especially if they rely on stimulants like coffee to keep going. The next remedy that I want to talk to you about is Ignitia Amara. And Ignitia is ideal for OCD tied with grief. So trauma, emotional conflict that are often accompanied by physical symptoms that mirror emotional stress. This remedy is needed when suppressed emotion cause inner tension, leading to compulsive behavior, like obsessively replaying events or moral dilemmas. People may display contradictory behavior, such as wanting to be alone, but fearing isolation, or crying, but rejecting comfort. Ignitia is also linked to intense idealism. It causes inner conflict between expectation and reality. And the mind gets stuck on specific events or injustice, and they lead to repetitive behavior aimed at mentally undoing the discomfort. So in addition to these mental symptoms, ignitia is associated with very, very heightened sensitivity to light, to sound, and odors. So along with physical symptoms like throat tightness or spasm, they would experience these as well. People may appear very emotionally intense or dramatic. And that's the difference between Natrium muriaticum, for example, and ignitia. Let me see. And then the next one is Calcara carbonica. So Calcara carbonica is a remedy for people who need routine, control, and stability. These individuals feel very insecure about their ability to do anything, and they seek constant reassurance about their work, their decision, or their performance. There is a strong, strong fear about the future, fearing change and craving control. So to manage this, they develop rigid routine or compulsion to create predictability and avoid failure. So for example, they engage in repetitive action like checking and organizing. Their mind often gets stuck on overthinking, obsessing over worst case scenarios and what ifs. So despite this showing of independence, because they are usually, very independent, they may become overly dependent on others for reassurance. They crave reassurance. Let's see what I wanted to see. Yes, sorry. Physically, calcara carbonica individuals may have digestive issues like constipation or bloating. They sweat on the head or the feet, and they often have a body type that is either overweight or underdeveloped. So when would you consider calcara carbonica, for example, compared to Nux vomica? So both are very, very anxious, but Nux vomica is irritable, driven, and more reactive. Calcara carbonica is more passive, anxious, and they focus on security and routine. So let's see. So I wanted to go over these 9 remedies to show you that although a lot of them are very similar in some symptoms, they all have something unique. And so when homeopaths are looking for remedies, they look for that unique symptom. So the next slide. Not going, sorry. Okay, the next slide. I wanted to introduce you to Bach flowers for OCD. So Bach flowers can be very, very helpful for people dealing with OCD. And they address the emotional aspect of the condition. Dr. Edward Bach, who developed these remedies, believed that the emotional imbalance could lead to physical illness, and that restoring emotional harmony could promote healing. And so for OCD, Bach flowers remedy worked in the following ways. They reduce anxiety. They alleviate perfectionism. They boost the confidence, and they release the guilt. So Bach flowers remedies are very safe, and they're natural, and they're suitable for all ages. They can be used alongside traditional treatment. They can become, and because of each individual is unique, an experienced practitioner can tailor a personal blend to address the emotional needs. So this individualized approach can help to heal the emotion imbalance that contribute to OCD. I wanted to introduce you to 3 flowers that are great for OCD. So the first one is white chestnut. And white chestnut is one of the remedies for calming a busy, overacting mind. It's especially helpful if you are stuck in a loop of repetitive thought and those unwanted ideas or worries that keep playing over and over in your head, even when you're trying to stop them. They're just constant. So people who need white chestnut often say, I can't shut off my mind, or I keep thinking about the same things and it won't go away. And this constant mental chatter can be exhausting and make it hard to focus or relax. So white chestnut helps break that cycle. It gently quiets the mental noises, and it brings more peace and clarity to the person. The person will feel more mentally less cluttered and more able to think clearly without getting pulled back into the same anxious thoughts. So it's a great support remedy for OCD. It helps ease the pressure of needing to mentally go over things again, and it calms the mind. So it's one of the remedies that you could look at. The second one is crabapple. And crabapple is a remedy that is especially helpful for people who feel overly focused on cleanliness and order and a sense of being unclean or not quite right. It's often called the cleansing remedy because it helps clear out those uncomfortable feelings, whether they're about germs, mess, or even intruding thoughts that just won't go away. So for someone who would need crabapple, someone who has OCD, it can be very, very soothing. It helps ease that constant urge to clean, fix, or perfecting things. And if you feel bothered by a little imperfection or ashamed of certain thoughts or habits, this remedy helps you feel much calmer and more accepting of yourself. It supports emotional balance. It helps you of letting go things and feeling of disgust and anxiety. And in short, crabapple is about learning to feel okay with your own skin. So cherry plum, the third one. Sorry, I keep looking because my big screen is here. Cherry plum is a remedy that helps when you feel like you're losing control. of your thoughts, of your emotions, of your actions. It's especially useful for people with OCD who are overwhelmed by intense inner pressure or fear that they might do something irrational or out of character. This remedy is for those moments when your mind feels like it's on edge, filled with racing thoughts, panic, or the fear that you might just snap or act on intrusive thoughts, even though if you never actually would, it's this fear is still there. So it would help you. You might feel like you're holding everything in and trying to keep control, but inside, the person is struggling. So cherry plan brings that sense of inner calm and trust, and it helps you feel safer and more grounded, and it reduces the fear of losing control, and over time it helps support emotional release in a healthy way. So these were the flower remedies that I wanted to introduce to you. So let's see. So my next slide is a case. And Emily is a 15-year-old girl, a teenager, and she came to us with some pretty classic symptoms of OCD. She was struggling with intrusive thoughts and a series of compulsive behaviors like excessive hand washing, constantly checking the lots, counting rituals, and seeking reassurance from her family and friends. And so the mental symptoms for her was that she was dealing with intense anxiety, especially at night. She would lie awake in bed, her mind racing, unable to quiet those intruding thoughts. And on top of that, she had this constant fear of harm coming to her loved ones. So Emily showed sign of perfectionism. She was feeling terrified of making mistakes, which only intensified her anxiety. And as you can imagine, that perfectionism contributed to sleep disturbance, making it even harder for her to relax and fall asleep at night. Her physical symptoms were occasional headache, especially when the anxiety was high. There were also digestive issues like bloating and constipation, and which we know can be tied to stress and anxiety. And on top of it, she felt very fatigued and had trouble falling asleep. So we put her on arsenicum alum, and she actually, after her first treatment, all of these symptoms reduced. The anxiety went down. It was still present, was still working on her, was still, she still has some ways to go. But the reduced compulsive behavior, anxiety, her sleep improved. She had better digestion, and her emotional shift were more stable, and she became less frustrated, more accepting of imperfection. So we are still continuing monitoring our progress, but she's very promising, and while we still have room for improvement, she's feeling significantly better overall. So that was one of the cases that I wanted to introduce. And I'm running out of time, of course. So I wanted to talk quickly before I give the microphone back to Elisa about the homeopathic treatment protocol and what would homeopaths do for OCD, how we would look at it. So what makes homeopathy unique the way with OCD is that it focuses not only on the symptoms, but on the emotional and mental triggers behind the compulsive behavior. So the remedies are chosen specifically to match the individual symptom, which means that the treatment is highly personalized. and holistic. So rather than just addressing the surface level behavior, we will work to heal the root cause of OCD. So the first thing that we would do is do a detailed case assessment. And this process starts with the homeopath. We'll gather all the details about the patient's mental, emotional, and physical symptoms, and that includes an understanding of the origin of the obsessive thoughts, the compulsive behavior, as well as any underlying issues like anxiety or stress that might be contributing to the condition. Then we would do a personalized treatment plan. And once the homeopath has gathered all the information, they'll select a remedy that fits the patient's unique symptoms. And along with the remedy, some homeopaths might also suggest some lifestyle changes to help manage OCD on a day-to-day basis. And then a very, very important aspect of a treatment is the ongoing monitoring and follow-up. And so this is one of the key benefits of homeopathy. The personalized approach through the treatment process is that what makes it so successful. The homeopath will monitor the patient's progress and adjust the remedy if needed to ensure that the symptoms improve over time. And this keeps the treatment in alignment with how the patient's body and mind are responding. Now, homeopathy doesn't offer instant results, for OCD. It works really gradually, and it aims to bring balance to the mind and emotions. And over time, patients experience reduction in the OCD symptoms without the side effect that might, come from other treatments. So it requires some patience, but the results are well worth it. And I wanted to give the microphone back to Elisa. So Elisa, go ahead.
Thanks, Mel. What I love about all this and like listening to these beautiful remedies, I think over and over again of all the conversations I've had with parents that are so desperate or people who are desperate for answers. And that's what I love. And one of the beauty of this is there's so much hope regardless of how you decide to take this information and go forward. Like there is so much hope, there's so much promise, and it makes the future so much brighter. Like, yes, OC can be really dark and it can be really hard on the family and on the people. And even if you're suffering from it, it's hard. It's a hard thing to walk through, but there is hope that it doesn't have to be this way forever. That there is a beautiful, and homeopathy is just one of the most beautiful ways to do it. And so as a thank you for you guys all coming and joining us tonight, Mel, you can go to the next slide. Mel and I just wanted to say thank you for you coming. And if you are wanting to go forward and you'd like to use homeopathy as your way to do homeopathic treatment for the month of May, Mel and I are offering 25% off your first new client appointment. And just to help you get the bigger picture and get jump started into seeing how you can help with homeopathy. So this is my website. I will also send it in the email afterwards later with the recording of this talk. But yeah, you can go on to and also just to let you go on to the next slide, Mel, just to let you know, we also have a Facebook group that specializes in pans and pandas, and you're more than welcome to join it. You can search it. It's called Pans and Pandas Homeopathy Support. Yeah, so we have some time for some questions. Mel, you can stop sharing the screen. And yeah, guys have any questions for us? We'll be happy to answer them. About remedies. Let's see if there's any in the chat. Homeopathy, OCD is one of those things I find it can often be layered. Like you may think it's straightforward, but often there's these components you see that get released, and it's really cool to see it over time, how it works. So, any questions? Guys are all such great listeners tonight. Thank you so much for taking your time to come and listen and to learn. There is so much to learn about homeopathy. Like having you been in school, like I feel like you always will learn. And the cool thing about it is the things you go through in your own personal health journey or the journey of your families, you learn so much from it and you'll come out so much stronger.
Lisa, I have a question.
Sure.
What role do you believe emotional trauma or life experiences play in OCD?
That's a good question. Mel, do you want to take that one?
Um, I think, okay, I wasn't really listening. Sorry, can you repeat that, Ed?
What role do you believe emotional trauma or life experiences play in OCD?
I believe that it actually plays a big role. You know, there are some remedies that are like Natrium muriaticum or sepia that are really strong on these emotional onsets. So yes, I do believe that it's they are for sure triggered by emotional.
And often with remedies, we'll see layers. Like we'll see like will be a layer of rage you work through, and then all of a sudden we'll have this intense anxiety pop up. So often with homeopathy, we're dealing with the work and layers. And so we'll see like remedy, like arsenicum may be needed now. Well, a few months later, we may switch and we might need stramonium for the rage. Like it depends on the method. It depends on the different things being used for to help you deal with that. And sometimes, other methods are needed, like emotional release techniques or going to counseling alongside of homeopathy. It works really beautiful with other stuff as well. Yeah, thank you, Babette. Well, if no one has any other questions, I just want to thank you all for spending time with us in such a busy world and taking time to learn more. It's truly been a pleasure.
Hey, I have another question.
You do? Okay.
Mel mentioned Bach flower remedies. So how are they different from tinctures or homeopathy? And do they work with homeopathy?
So it's a great question. So yes, so you can totally use them during your treatment. I do it all the time. It takes levels of emotional, it takes emotional layers out of, the pictures of OCD. So then you can concentrate on more. So it takes the first layer, I would say, and and then you can it really depends on the intensity of your OCD. So if your OCD is very deep, and I'm on the spot right now. Okay, so if your OCD is very strong, then combining flower remedy with homeopathy, would be like amazing. If the OCD is, doesn't have a very strong level, then you can totally fix it with flower remedies.
And I even
So I
see,
hope
like,
it
I could
answers.
almost see using like the flower remedies like as support. Like if you have a flare or if
Yes,
there's a really intense day, like taking an
yes.
extra dose, the flower essence would help.
Yes. So
How
JR has a question, and yes, so back flowers and homeopathy can be used at the same times. Absolutely, absolutely. And then just
Anthony
following
has a
down.
question in the chat. Just how long and how often does a remedy for OCD need to be taken? Is it, for example, something you take regularly every day for months? I got this one, Mel. So again, homeopathy, we'll start off by saying is very individualized. You do need to be really careful taking remedies every day, especially because unless you've been prescribed it by a homeopath, sometimes there's this thing where you can like prove the remedy and like you start exhibiting the symptoms of the remedy if it doesn't match your case. That's where you need to make sure it really matches. And personally, I'm not a daily remedy person. I more do weekly doses. It's a matter of preference. I think Mel may do something totally different. I like weekly doses. I do use different potencies each week. Don't generally use the same because it helps the body adjust. And if you're dealing with like severe OCD, or like in the case of pans and pandas, you need to keep the potency and things changing to help the body adjust as it has a lot going on. Anything you want to add, Mel?
No, I think, I mean, I think it all depends on a case-to-case basis, basically, you know, selecting the remedies, the dosage, the potency. So yes.
But I would do
What you
have to
think?
say with the flower essences, like if you really feel tonight like you were like, wow, that crab, was that crab tree, right? Crab apple, I think.
Crab apple.
Crab
Wait,
apple.
yes.
That just really matches me. You know, flower essences are awesome to experiment with. Like, go take them at the store. Like, read up more about it if it matches you. Like, that's something. Flower essences are really forgiving and really good to work with. I would start with like those, and those are really beautiful to work with. Are flower remedies prepared in the same way as homeopathic remedies? All right, Mel, you get this one.
But that's for me. Okay. Again, today is like Mel's day. So no, they're not. They are similar in some ways, but they are prepared using completely different methods and philosophies. So flower remedies are typically prepared by infusing flowers in water. And then they're exposed, and then exposing the mixture to the sunlight or boiling it, depending on the way we prepare it. And so the flower essence is basically believed to capture the emotional and energetic qualities of the flower. And so that then we would take this water and we would, you know, preserve it with some alcohol. Now, homeopathic remedies, like I'm sure you are familiar with, they are made by dilution and potentization. So they're completely different. It's very easy actually to create a flower remedy. Much easier than a homeopathic remedy, I think. So I hope this answered the question. And
the last one, best place to order Bach flowers, Mel.
So I get all my flower remedies from England, directly from England. I really believe that you can get them into Amazon. They have some companies in the US that sell them as well. If you send me an email, I can send you. Huh?
I said the grocery stores, like I've seen them at Sprouts grocery
Yes,
store.
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
You can get them at Sprouts. You can get them at many health food stores. But you have some companies in the US that specialize in flower remedies, and if you send me an email, I can guide you to them.
Yeah. So Angela's coming back with you answered your question well. To clarify, captures emotional and what of the flower?
Capture the emotion, and so it's you. I'm not understanding. Sorry.
I was just reading the chat.
Oh. Angela, can you like clarify your question? I'm not understanding.
Yeah, well, Bach flowers are very emotional level. Like they help deal with it. Like they deal
Yes.
with it. So they are definitely like very emotional. And the cool thing is they can also be combined. Like if you go to a really good practitioner like Mel, will often you can combine things and mix them.
Yes. Okay, you stated it captured the emotional and something else of the flower. Okay, yes. So it captured the the energy of the flower. So the emotion. So it's so the flower sense basically is believed to capture the emotional or energetic quality of the flower. That's what you meant. Energetic. Anything else? I know Bach flowers are fascinating, like a lot like homeopathy. So it's really something nice to look into. And Elisa, anything else? Any other questions?
It's truly been a pleasure to join us. Like if you do want to, Mel and I, we are homeopaths, and if you have questions, we'll probably be sending the recording out. The goal is this is our first one, so bear with us. It may be a little bit, there may be some technical difficulties, but we are very excited, and thank you for coming and all your beautiful questions.
Thank you so much.
Ah, well, we're just gonna close it out here. You guys all take care. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.